Well, I'm joined in the studio by Mike Lewis, author of How Tax Havens Plunder the Poor, and from Paris we're joined by Dan Mitchell from the Cato Institute. And Dan Mitchell, let me come to you first of all. Is there anything wrong with a tax haven?
No, there's something wrong with high-tax countries. The problem in the global economy is not places like Jersey and Switzerland and the Cayman Islands that are very honest, very well run. The problem is France, where I'm sitting, the UK, the United States, governments that have put in place completely unaffordable welfare states, and now they're pursuing very poisonous class warfare policies that are just going to hurt their economies and drive more jobs and investment overseas.
Let me quote one of your famous Supreme Court justices, Oliver Wendell Holmes, who said, "I like to pay taxes. With them, I buy civilization."
Well, Justice Holmes said that when the burden of federal spending in America was about 4% of GDP, which is far smaller than even someplace like the Cayman Islands today, far smaller than Hong Kong or Singapore. So when you have a modest-sized government providing genuine public goods, then yes, taxes are something everyone should pay. But if you have a sort of a modern plunder state based on two wolves and a sheep voting what to have for lunch, then of course the sheep is going to try to protect itself, because the long-run outcome of that kind of government we're already seeing in Greece and Spain and Portugal and Italy. And David Cameron, unfortunately, is not doing anything to rescue the UK's finances, so now he's trying to find scapegoats by pretending it's the fault of companies and low-tax jurisdictions.
Mike Lewis, would you like to respond to that? That actually Switzerland, Jersey are far better places, better run, better to be than, say, Britain or France or, you know, a lot of other countries where the taxes are very, very high?
Well, I think that evidence simply isn't borne out by the real facilities that these kinds of places offer to people who want to both avoid and evade their taxes. Dan's talked about one of those facilities, which is low taxes. The other, of course, is complete financial and corporate secrecy, which makes it impossible for tax authorities to know whether people are stashing money in shell companies and phantom firms offshore. And that's not about honest tax competition between countries. That's about people being able to hide money illegally against the law.
Dan Mitchell, do you want to come back on that?
I believe in strong human rights laws on financial privacy. I think Switzerland should have the complete right to determine how income inside its borders are being taxed. I don't believe that Afghanistan should have the right to impose laws in the United States. I don't think Saudi Arabia should get to impose laws in the UK. And I don't think France has the right to impose laws in Switzerland. The best way to reduce tax evasion, and this is in the academic evidence even from the IMF and World Bank, is to reform tax systems and keep tax rates low.
Well, I think that world that Dan is describing is simply not one that we would recognise. I don't know where the idea comes from that Saudi Arabia makes laws for other countries.
He was making a rhetorical point, but you know the point he was making is that let the Swiss get on with their affairs, let Jersey get on with its, and you know, other countries should sort out their own business.
The problem is that the facilities that tax havens provide are provided precisely for non-residents, for companies and individuals who are stashing wealth there, who don't live there, who are living somewhere else entirely. And that's why what they do and the services that they offer is so pernicious for other countries. It's that international spillover that is exactly the problem. This isn't just a problem, of course, for the wealthiest countries in the world. This is even bigger problem for some of the poorest countries in the world. The OECD estimates that poor countries lose 3 times more money to tax havens every year than they receive in international aid. That doesn't make any sense for their public finances. It also doesn't make any sense for developed countries who are providing the aid themselves.
Dan Mitchell, how does it help the global economy that the super rich, whether corporately or individually, can shield all their money from tax? Why is that a platform for growth?
They're not shielding all their money from tax. They're avoiding double and triple taxation. All income should be taxed one time, but it shouldn't be double and triple taxed with capital gains taxes, death taxes, wealth taxes, double taxes on dividends. These are policies that every economic theory, even Marxism and socialism, agree that saving and investment are the key to long-run growth, and yet governments, because they're driven by this class warfare, short-term, next election cycle mentality, they overtax these factors of production, and that's what's driving jobs and capital overseas. If the United Kingdom is worried that, say, Google or Starbucks isn't paying enough tax in the United Kingdom, first of all, they have complete control over their own transfer pricing rules. This is not a problem caused by Ireland or the Netherlands or the Cayman Islands. It's UK transfer pricing rules. But ultimately, the problem is that government is too big in the United Kingdom. The Bank for International Settlements says that the long-term spending problem in the UK is worse than it is in Greece or Spain or Italy. That's the problem David Cameron should be addressing, not trying to scapegoat companies that are actually creating private sector jobs.
Mike Lewis, in 10 seconds, respond.
Well, I think that's a total fallacy. The things that attract business, of course, are real things. Jobs, infrastructure, a well-educated workforce, things that tax pays for. And it's these jurisdictions that are siphoning off the ability for governments to really provide the public goods that benefit ordinary people and benefit business as well.
Mike Lewis, Dan Mitchell, I reckon if we went on for another 4 hours, we wouldn't get agreement. We haven't got 4 hours. Both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us.